What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Games Recap.
Good morning, guys. Welcome back to our show about big news in the game industry. Who's us? Who are we? I'm me, Larry Charles.
This is Brand Fam, and we are here with you every morning at 10 a.m., Monday through Friday.
Happy Friday.
On twitch.tv/blue_champs. If you are missing any minute of this or want to catch up to any of our previous episodes, you can catch us on our youtube.com/bluechamps. If you want to support us directly, keep the lights on and make this an audio podcast so that you can take us on your commute, on the toilet, anywhere that you want us to be with you, whispering in your ears. Support us on Patreon at Blue Champs. Yeah. And other than that, if you like some shirts with our face on it, go to our bluechamps.com/merch. All right. So that covers all the pre-roll. What is today's topic, Larry?
Unity IPO question mark. Is there a chance that Unity is going to be publicly traded? Because we keep hearing about Unity being privately invested in. We just found out that Unity has a $6 billion valuation following the latest investment deal. This is an article that we saw on Gamasutra today. So shout out to everyone at Unity enjoying that champagne with the raspberries in it this morning.
Mm-hmm.
You guys you deserve it. Enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge deal. Unity has been rumored for a long time, ever since John Riccitiello, which used to be the CEO of EA, took over years ago. Mm-hmm. Day one, he was like, I'm the IPO guy. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make you guys valuable, and then everyone's going to make monies. So, of course, that's the big reason why he changed camp, right? It's a big reason why there's been such a big surge in Unity support and development, right? A lot of good things happen when you're looking at a pure profit standpoint and making your company assets really shine, right? So I know that it gets a bad rep when it becomes like from private to public offerings. Can you kind of educate the masses out there what the advantages are?
Sure. Usually with a private valuation, you are dealing with a smaller party that ends up having a bigger say, right? Instead of bringing on hundreds of thousands of investors through going like with an IPO route, you are bringing on like a single party, usually representing like a majority share or majority stake or minor, but a single cash infusion of, let's just say like $2, $3, $4 billion coming from one deal with one group who now becomes a partner. Mm-hmm. Instead of with an IPO, you're basically saying like, hey, we have this much stock for sale. All you folks out there with monies can go buy this stock. Some of these shares are voting shares. You can weigh in on how the company is going to go. You now have hundreds of thousands of financial partners that are in this with you instead of like a smaller group. Easier to communicate with, less hard to control when you're going private, unless mathematically they bought 50.01% or something like that, and then they're essentially the decision makers now.
I see.
I think the good thing though about doing it privately at this stage is your plans, your business plans, what you want to achieve, your objectives don't have to be forecast. They don't have to be publicly known, which in some ways could be great ammunition for your competitors. When you have your shareholders meetings, when you have your annual reports and summaries and all of that, if you're a private company, you don't actually have to share that information. If you're a publicly traded company, you literally have to share all that information all the time. And you'd be a fool to think that your competitors don't own shares of your stock to get even the voting pamphlet that you send out once a year, or to be part of the earnings calls, or just to hear whatever information about your company as early as possible. So that's one thing you protect yourself from.
And there's tremendous pressure, right? With the quarterly profits and annual reports, like people want to hear, what are you doing right now that is going to be a better ROI? And
you bring up another good point there. And like, for example, if Tencent were to come in and invest in your company, you at least know that they have a lot of business inside of the game industry. They're likely going to understand more your specific goals as a game development company, what you would need to prosper as a game development company. Like, they're more in line with understanding why they invested in you, right? When you have hundreds of thousands of just random people around the world investing money, It could be just because they heard at a bar this Unity stock thing.
Yeah.
Like, put some money in that.
Yeah.
And they have voting shares. They have no experience with gaming, game development tools, any of that. But because they've put $30,000 into your stock, they have $30,000 worth of votes potentially at shareholders meetings or earnings calls, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Let's go over this article because they went through their latest round, and you brought up a really interesting point, right? So let me read through this, and then we'll talk about it. Unity's valuation has climbed up to $6 billion after the company signed an investment deal with D1 Capital Partners, Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, Light Street Capital, blah, 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 will finance a $525 million transfer offer to common shareholders. The engine maker will only secure the full $525 million if enough shareholders, most of whom are former and current employees, decide to sell Unity. The opportunity for your liquidity. Oh wow. So people can cash in now.
Well, they're only going to get the money if enough people decide to do it.
I see.
So this actually sounds pretty interesting because all these people have to be contacted and wrangled together to be like, okay, this company is essentially trying to buy into Unity, not necessarily we're just giving you money to grow on some sort of like partnership. Like you will return this much in the future. They're literally like, no, we know that there's shares outstanding. We want to actually purchase from people who have them, but it's not a publicly traded company, so this is the way that they have to do it. So you have these people who have been given stock options. You have people who have left the company but still have stock or whatever, like private stock. They're now like, well, either I wait for IPO day and I don't know how that's going to perform, but I have a guaranteed this much of the $525 million times whatever the percentage value of that to my shares is. I will get this essentially within 30 to 90 days.
Would you?
I don't know. It depends on the number. Depends on the number. If I had anything like 400, 500,000 shares of Unity stock, I'd be looking to do something. I might not sell it all, but I'd be looking to like get some
cash.
sort of like just a taste. Just a little whet my appetite. Just a taste.
But that's usually good news, right? If they are asking to buy some of your stock now before IPO, you can only take it in as good news, right? Not bad news.
Well, I guess from what I understand of how it sounds like this deal is structured, though, it could backfire. If everyone that has those stock is on IPO board, then this really means nothing. If all the stock has to come from shares outstanding, from people who literally have been given stock, left the company, no longer at Unity, if those people are holding out for IPO day, like it doesn't matter what you say to them. If they believe that like, actually this is going to be worth way more than the 25,000 I could get for my 100,000 shares, I think each share is going to be worth $19, $20, $30. And that 25,000 ain't going to be shit compared to
the real money.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot to discuss, man. So, assuming Unity receives the full amount, it'll take the company recent funding total to $675 million, with a good chunk of that can be being raised through a hefty Series E funding round that takes place in May. It's unclear whether the latest investment will have any impact on Unity's
long-rumored IPO plans.
IPO plans. The company has apparently been preparing to go public the first half of 2020 as long as the market conditions are favorable, although we've yet to hear anything official.
6 more months until Unity IPO. So then this deal, if you have Unity shares right now, you hold all the power based on what I'm hearing. You have a company coming in that knows 6 months from now that IPO is probably going to do well. They're betting that the IPO is going to do well, and so they're trying to get on the cheap as much Unity stock privately possible is what it seems like. Especially when I look at, and this is speculation here, but what do we say? D1 Capital Partners, Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, right? Like, what games do those companies invest in other than this deal, right? Like, where have you seen that name tied to the investment of a game company, the research or development of an early level game company? So this to me seems like all based on like numbers speculation, where they're like, hey, this is going to be a good move. It's going to make our portfolios look great. Let's get this Unity thing. This is a guess. I don't know behind the scenes. I have no inside information.
Right.
But like,
so that is what you'll be looking at. Like, who's part of this deal,
right? So
like, who wants to buy this?
That's why I used Tencent before, because Tencent, I see that name with game company, game development investments all the time. The Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, Like, just say that to yourself.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, they're not here because they like, rendering or 60 frames a second or
right.
microtransactions. They're here because they're like, this Unity thing we know is going to be a big IPO. Somebody told us, who's done some research, who is a consultant, has identified this as a deal. Yeah. And so I think that this kind of feels like that to me.
I see.
I could be completely wrong. I'm just guessing from the outside. I got my 2 fingers through the blinds.
Yeah.
I'm trying to describe what
I mean, these are obviously big players.
Yeah.
And if they're wanting to buy it on the cheap, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't buy it if
the
it
longer
was
the wait,
at a
the
loss.
worse it would be. So jumping in now is cool.
So as an employee, if I'm here in 2020, I'm like, nah, I'll hold out.
I honestly think I would do a little of both, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even if my financial situation was great,
yeah.
you never know what's going to happen IPO day. Like, there's a lot of companies who like go in and like get super excited, like IPO day, and then they spike drop. You know what I mean?
People buy and buy out.
So I probably would try to protect my investment at least somewhat, and I would say, well, this is a guarantee.
Yeah.
Like, they have the money, we get it, and they will buy share for share. I would find some sort of point I was comfortable with. Whichever one I thought would do better, I'd probably do something like 70-30 maybe. Like, all right, give me a little bump just so I can be happy about everything. Yeah. And even if this ends up being bad because I would have made more on IPO day, I had some now, right? Like, I can do something now to be excited about, to like pay out debt, pay a house, pay whatever. And then a huge bump coming January 2020. I'm still going to be celebrating because I have 70% coming from that.
That's true. Yeah, there's definitely a benefit to kind of play both sides. Yeah. But that's good news then. That means that people are believing in the product and the plans going forward after IPO, where big time capital investors are saying, can you sell some of your stuff now?
Yeah, I guess my strategy to anyone out there who's listening, watching, and I'm not like an investment guru or anything like that.
$500 million.
I just like to take advantage of guarantees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the IPO is still a risk. Yeah. We don't know what it's going to come out at. We don't know how well it's going to do. We don't know who's going to be there to swoop it up. We imagine that all those things will be favorable, but we don't know. Yeah. But when I have okay, well, here, this is the cash is on the table, Larry. We will give you share per share, some percentage of this. Yeah. I'm going to at least take some because I know that this is a guarantee. I now have this cash under my name and it's mine today. So I usually try to take advantage of a guarantee, at least just, you may as well.
Well, let's look at Unity as a company, right?
Sure.
What effect
does this have?
Does this, not just this, but the idea when it does go IPO? Because the number one fear for game developers, like, they're going to change everything. They're going to monetize. They're going to make sure it's the bottom line all the time, right? And that's they're going to have a premium subscription plan, like Adobe out there. Adobe is kind of like the evil guy, right? But they're making mad money.
The first thing I look at is what's the low-hanging fruit, because that's usually what a new IPO company will attack in trying to. It's not like once you IPO, I feel like you go into proof mode of like, see, this is why. Like, we want our stock to go up 10, 20, 30, 40% within the year if possible. And so I always see CEOs attacking like the low-hanging fruit. What's the money that they leave on the table that's obvious? Yeah. That usually ends up being the things that you see Unity or whatever company doing first. Yeah. So is there a market that isn't monetized properly? Is there something that's very generous that they're doing that they could scale back on? What are those like 2, 3, 4 initiatives that are like, oh my God, why weren't we doing that before? Those are usually the first things that get like, see, look at us. You invested in us. Here's your 20% return. Right. So if we were to like really sit down and say, what are those areas where we think either Unity isn't doing that great or Unity could be monetizing better? Yeah. What could that be? Possibly the asset store. I know that's a money maker for them. Yeah. I don't know how big or how small it is, but I bet with like a good revamp, a great way to discover content, a cleaner presentation, they could get way more assets in and out of that store. Yeah. Are they taxed? What is the rate that they tax the stuff going into the store? Right? Like, hey, what's your cut? Is it 10%? Well, now it's 11.5. Now it's 12 or something minor. But if you pair that with, but look at how easier it is to find information. Look at how cleaner the presentation is. Look at how, as long as people understand, like, okay, cool. So I'm getting 2% less, but I'm anticipating I'm going to sell 20% more. Yeah. Not so bad. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what
other types of business they get. Well, obviously the games pay a percentage, right? Yeah. Back to the company. by licensing their engine. Their engine of themselves, they have a professional version that you do pay up front. So they get money from that. So the only equivalent that I think with software development is the Adobe licensing, which is, they basically turn all their one-time payment into a subscription fee where no one really, or make it really hard for people to own the product. And even though it's like a crime against anybody that uses the software, they've been reporting like crazy amount of profits.
It's better, honestly. I as a consumer, I was a little upset at first about oh man, instead of buying my one copy of like Photoshop CS3 and then keeping it for 8-9 years because I only use like basic level tools that probably won't change. I now got to pay $49 a month to have like the whole suite or whatever.
I hate that idea, dude. To use software.
I've been outpaced already. The amount of my monthly subscription has outpaced how much I had to pay previously to get because I'm the one version and then just ride it out until like literally I just know that I've been enticed to upgrade for some other reason. But I usually get like 6-7 years out of like a major software package like that.
Right.
So now I get 30 days.
Yeah. It's I would like to hope that this will give because the I feel the most comfortable with stagnant companies going IPO because get off your lazy ass, do something about it, right? And so when you're publicly owned, you're kind of constantly being pressured to come up with something new. That's why I always ask that Valve be the person to do something because I feel like they're doing all types of wrong moves over there. They're just too relaxed.
I think Valve IPO would be great for the fans because it's going to force them to do something. Stuff. And I think Unity IPO, I'm actually scared about as a developer and fan of the company, mainly because I see what happens when you introduce a whole bunch of people to your barbecue who aren't even family members. So to speak. You get what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, like Unity and Unreal, right? They're the two major engine companies, and they're both currently private. And the innovation that these two guys have been going head to head has been great for the industry. So it forced them to be free. It forced them to be more democratizing.
They're trying to outsell each other in a free market. Which is already what we needed. So I'm happy for that. And
so, I don't know, man. I feel like if Unity does go public, it really depends on what the roadmap's going to look like. But they might start taking a backseat to Unreal because Unreal has the flexibility to do what they need to do.
Unreal has the funding currently because of how much they pull in from Fortnite alone. They definitely have a talent pool. Like, who knows? Like, we keep seeing the names that keep going to Epic to work there, both on the tech side and on the development side. And they don't have to answer to anybody.
And that's an advantage.
Imagine if Epic right now, with how much they make off of Fortnite, I think it would be bad for them to think IPO. Because then they start looking at dividends right away. Right? To know that, like, wow, we put in, let's say, $18 million of work into Fortnite this quarter, but we made $1.2 billion off of Fortnite this quarter. You know what that means? You then put that $1 billion or something, or $1.198 billion on the table. And you chop that shit up into all the pieces for all the shareholders who are supposed to get dividends for that quarter. And then you give it back. That's going to be a tough one for Epic.
It's too tough. I don't know, man. I think it'd be great for the employees, of course, once they do IPO, right? Because we have friends over that will get paid. But as a consumer, as a developer, we've been liking the attitude for game development the last few years. We've been kind of spoiled with that. It only invites change, right? If they're looking at one quarter, it's like, hey, we're not making as much as last quarter. It always changes the attitude when money is involved.
It's tough, man. It is tough because I'll take it even a step further. I feel like when shareholders' money is involved, complete company
more
demographic
suit and
change.
ties.
Oh my God, Because when people who don't understand why you exist as a company, but they still have voting rights or own a piece of the company, it usually boils down to the thing that they care about, which is return on investment. Either that's dividend or stock price. One of those two things need to be in the favor of the person who doesn't even play your game, but for all intents and purposes is still a piece owner of your company.
Right.
And they will use their tick box votes to say more microtransactions, more skins, more dances, more of the things that make us money.
Of course. It's like, how much money do you want? Yeah. How long till I get it back? I mean, those are the two main questions when it comes to investors. And not a lot of people have 10 years of wait time to see a company grow into something that's never been done before.
Yeah, and so I think where I would love to even spend some time to educate myself more is just how much power, how much the shareholder effect can curve or sway a company's trajectories or their long-term plans. Like I have seen people rise up and have people removed who they feel has been incompetent, or if they, explicitly show they don't like something and they vote with their money by dumping a stock and things like that. Like I've seen those effects make companies make decisions differently. Mm-hmm. And so that's what always scares me about something I love now going IPO, because the way that I loved it, I just already know is going to change completely and forever.
Well, is there a software in mind that not recently, but in the past have gone IPO and completely changes
software that went IPO?
The company stance and structure?
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't actually followed a lot of IPO software, but I guess the best would be Facebook, Instagram.
Snapchat. Man, that was a sharp decline.
Remember how Facebook was before
Facebook was cool back then
on the marketplace.
Yeah, that was a huge difference right there. And now they're kind of vying for groups as your main use product. It's like you're back to forums. Yep. You're back to forums, dude. You guys were a social networking king. Yeah. Now you're back to forums as the future. Yeah, that is very true. I felt like that was a case and scenario where if the original goal had just been kept, and where it was I want to connect with friends I haven't seen for a while and stay connected, to where it has evolved now, where it's all about your user data and how do we sell things to you, and all types of privacy issues with that. And then
that's why I say stuff like it scares me to hear companies that I love going IPO, because the Facebook effect.
Yeah, Facebook effect, Instagram. Even Instagram is more popular than Facebook, but people are seeing the Facebook influence.
Yeah, the ads every four slides is hey Larry, here's all the 25 new wing flavors at Wingstop. I'm like, what? This is racist.
Yeah.
But
I did say Wingstop yesterday though.
Four slides, every 4 swipes, swipe. So dog, cat, new car, wings.
Do you really see that?
Bodybuilding, vacation. My baby did this. Boom, advertisement. They slide them in there, man. Nothing you can do. They just slide them right on in.
See, I feel that's the case where Zuckerberg needs to watch The Social Network to see Prime Zuckerberg about how ads aren't cool, man, and remember what it used to be like on that campus.
What's his name? Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah,
he needs to teach Mark Zuckerberg how to be Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, remember what it used to be like. But it's true. I mean, that's the Instagram still has stories. It's becoming its main thing now.
Yeah, they ripped that from Snapchat.
I remember
that day.
But these are software companies are losing touch with what it was supposed to be for, the value of it, right? And these are being shifted towards what the shareholder wants more so than the user. And so the question is always, with the balancing act of that, do the customers have enough patience for you to figure out that balance where it pleases both sides? And what's a successful software company that balances both, that people are happy about?
That happy about the product even though it's public?
And the shareholders love it. Is there a product besides maybe...
See, the hard part for me is thinking of what softwares have gone public that the users still love and enjoy.
Well, Silicon Valley, right? It's plenty. I know, didn't Uber went public?
Uber's public.
But that didn't go too well, right? It's a lot less than they had hoped.
I don't recall how Uber did after IPO or Lyft or any of these guys. Actually, I didn't.
Because a lot went
follow that
IPO this
sector.
past year, right?
The what?
A lot of software companies in Silicon Valley, how the promise of a $120 billion under Uber IPO evaporated, so it didn't do well.
Uber executive shakeup a month after IPO for Uber.
Because WeWork recently is prepping, and WeWork, those co-working
I would invest
spaces.
in that. I see.
But then recently, the founder or whatever CEO just like liquidated his stocks, like a good percentage.
More than 25% at one time.
I'm gonna look it up. It was an alarming enough number
that,
where
like,
people
somebody
were like,
reported
"Why would you do this before you go IPO?" Because that's a loss of confidence.
Oh man, it's tenure and stock trades. It's a thing that people need to know about when they take C-level jobs. You can't treat your portfolio like you used to.
Cashed out over $700 million ahead of the IPO.
What was the total though? Like of his value? Do they say like 700 million out of like 7 billion, which I know is not true. That sounds like a substantial.
It's a mix of stock sales and loans secured by his equity. I don't know how much percentage. Despite the loans, and he remains he's still the single largest shareholder in the company.
Okay, so then when I hear something like that, I just try to look into it a little more to say like, okay, sure, that number sounds big, but like really break down the move and say, did he liquidate all his stock? Did he liquidate 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%? Is he still, like you said, majority shareholder, or is he like cleaning the pipes so that he can get the hell out of there quickly without friction? That's what I try to anticipate. But nonetheless,
$700 million.
That type of a move before IPO, if you had confidence in the company and you thought the IPO was going to like boom, you wouldn't sell the stock before the boom. You would sell it after the boom.
Right.
And that's not even inside information. That's just like no judge would be mad at you for like inside information is actually selling it before the IPO. Everyone knows your IPO is coming out, so that's public information.
Yeah.
Everyone knows when.
Yeah.
You selling after the date, no one is going to be like, oh, he had secret insight. No, like that's what a lot of people do. We wait for the IPO and then we sell.
Yeah.
To sell significantly beforehand and be the CEO of the company that's when the IRS starts sniffing around and saying like, oh, what's going on here?
So, man, that's really in the weeds though. Like, he's the CEO, so of course he has inside info.
Yeah.
So how is that not allowed or is allowed?
It's allowed. So if he owns the stock, even as the CEO, he can sell the stock, I would imagine, right? Like if it's his
right to sell, right?
If it was shares that were presented to him in some sort of compensation package or signing bonus, whatever,
yeah,
that's his property. He can sell his ownership. The way it looks, the way it shows up on paper to the radar from the outside world is the discrepancy that he has to worry about. And or her, and this is just a general statement, is like, what message are you sending by your trades? What messages are you sending to the company, to the shareholders, to the people who invest in the company? Like your personal life, your trade, especially one that big, regardless of you just being like, I wanted a $700 million yacht and here's how I can finance it. You are legally allowed to do that clean and clear. But everyone else who's looking at the company is looking at that move that you made for your personal life and trying to pull out business information from it. And so that's the tough spot. So I always said, if I was a CEO at a company, I'm just going to keep all the stock that I have while I'm there. And then when I'm gone, it's back to wheeling and dealing Larry. Who needs Uber stock? I got that Uber stock, 700 million. I'll cut it down to 6.9.
Yeah. Man, these are great problems to have. Great problems to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, like all the Silicon Valley companies that went IPO, man, I'm trying to think through all of them that actually succeeded to please both shareholders and the users. And I have a hard time nailing it, man.
I'll just start with apps, I guess.
Because like with Tesla, right, obviously, Elon Musk is constantly trying to be thrown under the bus, right? Because they're such an innovative company. Tesla drivers love it. It seems like everyone loves the product, but then they're always, in the red with the stocks, and people are always trying to tear them down.
I think Tesla has the biggest fight because the way it is doesn't want them to win.
Yeah.
And that's one of their big problems is
small profit margins.
Instead of businesses embracing the fact that change is coming, they want to be as rigid as possible because they found a gold mine, right?
Yeah.
they've spent all their time and resources into mining the gold mine,
Yeah.
right? In order for Tesla to win, my gold mine disappears.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of me saying, well, it's probably gonna be better for the whole world if I just learn how to make electronic cars too, and we focus on clean, renewable energy sources for fuel.
Yeah.
No, I already found the gold mine. We've been running this gold mine for years, and there's still more gold, so long as nothing comes to replace it.
Yeah. They're trying to kill them off. Yeah.
Man, Tesla has such a fight, but they're winning. I mean, especially out here in California, you see someone in a Tesla every time you blink your eyes.
Oh, I know.
And the
so
Teslas
much.
look nice.
They look
Celebrities
great.
have endorsed
Luxury,
them.
yeah.
They're the most powerful vehicles on the road. I mean, the Tesla Roadster, when it drops, when a normal consumer buys that car, they will have the fastest car produced.
Yeah.
That is like street legal.
Damn.
From a factory.
Wow.
0 to 60, was it 1.9 seconds?
Something ridiculous.
And that's the base model. That's the like, oh, you couldn't afford the 100, the
Souped
Roadster
up one.
100D?
Yeah.
Oh, broke.
Yeah. They have such a good brand where I feel like they'll survive the onslaught, right? But when it comes to software like Unity, like I can't figure out something that went public that is doing well for both consumers and shareholders, because the recent purchase of Substance, which is a texturing program for the non-game developer, a major program, to Adobe was, to me, a blow, because it feels like I'm sure they needed the money, right?
Substance guys?
The Substance guys.
Who's Substance owned by? Algorithmic?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
So I heard it was a tight ship over there until they sold. And so it just, I don't like the Adobe business model, man. It's not the same as a media and entertainment service where you're okay with paying Netflix $10 a month to have new videos and movies and shows every month, right, into your library. Adobe's Adobe. It's like it's the same program this month as next month with minor updates. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not paying for a major overhaul.
The best way to describe it is like, let's say you're a carpenter.
Yeah.
But you, instead of going to Sears to buy a screwdriver, you keep paying $2 a month to rent a screwdriver.
Sure.
To rent. That's the feeling.
Or the feeling would be mutual if I eventually own that screwdriver.
Sure.
But right now,
but that's
I'm
what
not.
It's like artists consider Adobe tools like literally tools. They
Yeah.
use that for their craft to make their thing, but they are not allowed to just flat out purchase the software and write it out like I used to.
I know Adobe makes it super hard. I think there is a way to just buy it outright, but they make it super hard to kind of find that because they prefer the subscription.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So
when you buy it outright, they know 1 in 3 of those serials that they send out ends up being a cracked, distributed online on torrent site, whatever version. So
well, Unity right now they have the free version for anyone that wants to like work with it and jump with it.
That's not going to change.
That's not going to change. I think it's stupid for them to close that gate. They have a subscription service, obviously, for professionals that can buy it outright, too. They have that option that want to use it and ship it with their projects. The only thing I see with IPO is they're raising the prices or add more microtransactions. And that's what's scary when it comes to software, because with Unreal and stuff, anything they come out with innovative that is pushing the boundaries of the industry, you'll get that free in the next update, right? If Unity decides to gate some of those updates, which I hope they don't, because that would be dumb. They want everybody to get used to it, because the more reliant they are on the tools, the more likely they're going to be lifelong customers, right? I wonder what major moves they can do to up their shareholders' value after IPO. Like, what can they do on their roadmap that just like really pumps in more money?
Well, if you were a Unity subscriber right now, right? Let's say you're giving them whatever their subscription fee is because I have the free version.
Yeah.
I'm not so deep into the tech side that I need more than the free version.
Right.
Where would you say you would actually give Unity money to solve a problem for you? Do you have anything specific where you're like, this part of the experience is continuing to be a problem for me, whether that's on education, whether that's on deployment, whether that's on assets, or even just the engine itself not doing something right? where would you literally like? I would have no problem giving Unity like $20 if they fixed this or did that,
Right.
because again, those are things that like will stand out as like, well, of course we'll happily do that. It's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You would have to ask someone more advanced in Unity than me.
Yeah.
But I mean, as a businessman, I guess that's how I would try to start to look for what are the monetization opportunities for Unity. What could they sell? Because they're not going to sell another engine. They're not going to sell a revamp of the engine and then put that behind a different paywall. They've already established like where the business is going right now is they've like, this is Unity 2019, 2020, 2021. These are the updates you're getting for the year and yada, yada. Be a part of that subscription. It could be an update fee. I don't know.
It would be more user reliance, right? It would be more transitioning out of just using it for game development, right? For entertainment. It's more like, can that fridge in your kitchen incorporate Unity functions?
Oh, man.
Like, can things around your household interact with you as a
saying
person? That would be...
You would look at Unity as what are the applications of Unity outside of game
real-time
development, and then
applications.
That's smart. Yeah, of course.
Be fucking road to the matrix.
Finding a whole new gold mine. Like, all right, well, here's Unity powering real-time simulations. Here's Unity powering AI-based stuff for like scientific study.
Exactly.
Here's Unity powering like some sort of amoeba example that you.
That would be the globalization of Unity and the ever increasing profit margin that they're looking for. And I think both Unreal and Unity are looking at outside of game development. Like if 10, 20 years from now, their engine is primarily used for games, that would be a failure, in my opinion.
Unreal, actually.
Like every industry should be using these engines.
What did they do? They have two versions of Unreal, which is the same thing though. Like the Unreal.
They got rid of that.
Edition.
It did not work.
It's just Unreal again.
It's stupid.
It's the same thing. I even downloaded.
They looked at that and was dumb.
I was like, all right, I did all the same stuff.
Yeah.
It was like they just changed the icon.
Yeah, they got rid of that. I think it's just back to one thing now.
I think that's smart. It's not so much that you don't need to have two screwdrivers. You need to tell people who use screwdrivers one way, you can use it that way, and tell people who want to use screwdrivers as a knife that, it also makes a great knife.
Yeah.
You pull that bitch out because someone's trying to rob you, it'll poke them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like the tool itself does what it's supposed to do, and if people are finding other ways to apply the tool, then that's just great.
Right.
You don't have to rebrand the tool to then handle this demographic. I think there's a lot of overlap between whatever resources.
You're splitting up,
Exactly.
Yeah, if anyone had like two different versions of the same thing, you're splitting up your team and resources to build the same thing, and oh my god, how annoying.
Yeah.
Eventually you're gonna have to transfer your resources over to make that update because you just update. It's a disaster.
I'm glad to hear that Enterprise Edition. No disrespect to anybody who might have had to eat some crow on that, but glad that Epic is focusing on just doing the Unreal Engine, and then considering the branding for the Unreal Engine as something that makes things possible,
right,
and not necessarily something that makes games possible.
Yeah. So I think if anything, Unity is looking at that roadmap, and it's like, how do we not just become a game development? Game engine primarily, because obviously they dominate the mobile market. They're huge among the indie developers. The only area that they're not very strong at is like top level quality, right? They don't really, though, like they're slowly changing that conversation, but they haven't really conquered that conversation yet, right? Everyone still looks at Unreal as like the top dog when it comes to high quality fidelity.
Yeah, I feel like they have the Crisis effect going with them right now. Like all the demos that I've seen come from Unity, from the team of people who like are dope at Unity, great artists.
Yeah, there's no difference.
Direction. I see like all those little like cinematic demos that they did, and like the gameplay project files that you can open up and like poke around those environments. They always look fantastic. They always look great. But I always felt like it was like beautiful corner style execution, and not necessarily like, there's your character, go do whatever you want.
Right. They're definitely lacking like actual games. Where Unreal just has been doing it for a long time. Yeah,
and so the best people who use the tool can't be the people that make the tool.
Yeah.
If that's the case, that's what I call the Crisis effect. Like
exactly.
All the good Crisis games Crytek made, or all the good Crytek made you get what I'm trying to say. All
Right,
the
right.
good games from Crytek came from the people that made Crytek,
Yeah.
and then everything else was just like, we're having a hard time trying to figure this out. Can't use it.
Yeah, I mean, Epic has Fortnite. They can show that they themselves can be developers using their own tools and going great things. Unity will never go that direction. They're never going to have an internal Unity team.
You don't think so?
To make a game? To make a game? No, that's not there.
Like this though, it's not necessarily to make the game, but to make other people aware of what's possible with making a game in Unity.
I think if anything, they'll make templates, kind of like what Epic does with their example projects, but not to the extent where like it's a $60 product and game of the year potential, or like a phenomenal.
If Unity
across
goes
the universe,
IPO, I think the worst thing they could do is start an internal game studio.
That is the worst thing they can do. Yeah.
I think that is the worst thing they could do. But I don't.
So many ways to fuck up.
If I look at a long-term strategy, I don't think it would be against a 10, 20-year strategy for them to have a team that is internally producing first-party. Like, hey, we are the Unity team. We have designers, engineers, artists, animators. Maybe a team of like 20 at the most.
Right.
But putting out like a solid product to show the capabilities and also make revenue, and like I don't think that would be a bad
they
move
need to think outside of the box. Like they need to be fucking at NASA or SpaceX, and the astronauts are using Unity inside those ships. Like that is changing the world right there. And there's way more money on that side than just entertainment value, right? So if the goal is to turn the world into the Matrix, right? It's either Unreal or Unity. I mean, that is the road that we're leading to. AR, VR simulations. So,
well, good luck to everybody at Unity. And again, enjoy that champagne with the raspberries floating at the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a good celebration day.
Right. And so, let me get that going here. We'll get Got the music.
My headphones are on the desk.
So that concludes today's
Games recap.
We're gonna take a break and come back with the Backseat Gamer. It is my time to play a classic game that I've worked on. Larry worked on a little, but I'd never played.
I worked on it in spirit, apparently. Yeah, I put early ideas in, and I actually left the studio before the actual the hard work got started.
Right, so we're gonna be playing Call of Duty World War II. I have not yet opened this up, even though I have a free copy. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna play it. So thank you guys for joining us on twitch.tv/blue_champs. You're watching this after the fact, while you're watching over at youtube.com/bluechamps. You are supporting us. We are thankful. If you want to support us, go ahead and go to patreon.com/bluechamps to turn this show into an audio podcast so you can compete with us every day. Any dollar or cent counts. Let's go for dollars. Don't be so cheap. And then being a Twitch Prime subscriber also helps. That's money in our pockets directly from you to us. And that ends today's episode. So let's go ahead and give them a sign off there.
All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Consider yourselves recapped.